Hello, my name is Lee Cooper, and this is Understanding My Community, Strive Prep Link. Jumping right in, so some things that we have are listed there. I am not going to read through all of them, but some highlights. Our school is pretty politically active, so things like A Day Without an Immigrant. So back during when Trump was originally elected, that was a time where many of our students did take a leave of absence from school. As well as the staff is also pretty politically active and voices a lot of political social views. So again, things around DACA, those kinds of things. One interesting to note is that we do not say the Pledge of Allegiance. That was something that I was actually pretty surprised with. We don't have any American flags up in the school too. So I think that says some kind of political statement there. So a couple things we do. It is a school that is focused. It's supposed to be a college preparatory school. So we do take annual college field trips. That is for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And we also have a senior signing day. That is a time where at the end of the year, the seniors, we all come together as a network. So that's the elementary school, all of our middle schools, and our high schools come together at the Denver Coliseum and celebrate the seniors signing up for different colleges. So that's a pretty big event. Couple things also in here. So as far as custom and traditions, again, it is a mostly Hispanic population. I've said this a couple times. And if you take a look here, Strive Prep Lake, majority of our students are Hispanic, and that is significantly more even compared to Denver as well as all of Colorado. So we are definitely a low-performing school in the area, and a lot of the schools in our area are low-performing, including the regular public school that is housed within our same building. Okay, so population characteristics. The education level of the majority of our neighborhood is low. So high school diploma or lower, 60 to 70%. As far as age, more elementary and middle schoolers enrollment than high school, a lot of dropout, and graduation rates are a little bit lower when it comes to high school. Occupations, so predominantly working class, an average salary of only around $30,000, and again, predominantly Hispanic, 70% population. Politically active as well. So during the time when there was the Day Without an Immigrant, again, it's the students who are not coming to school, but this is also being something that's influenced from the parents. Parents are also not attending work, those kinds of things. So a pretty politically active population and community. Okay, so communication channels. Our school communicates regularly and often through robocalls, texts. We started a thing called Blooms this year, which is a communication platform for schools and parents. They communicate through Facebook, Twitter. They have a Vimeo channel where they create promotional videos as well as videos for staff and students. And our school website also has lots of ways to communicate. Most of our community is getting their news from TV and the internet, among other sources. But I would say those are the biggest ones. As far as language barrier goes, because we do have such a high Hispanic population, all of our communication from the school is given in Spanish and English. So any bulletin that's given out, any kind of call home, those kinds of things are given in Spanish and English. So the biggest thing that we are not serving there is our non-Spanish or English speaking parents. So, for instance, I know I have a student who his parent speaks Amharic, and we don't have a lot of resources in order to connect with that parent. Okay. So community groups, we do have some athletics at the school. They're not too big though, but there are some groups around that. Our school is very close to the Broncos Stadium. In fact, many people will park at our school in order to go there. So there's a huge Bronco fan base and a lot of community gatherings around football. Also a lot of church groups, mostly Catholic. After-school program, so there's a program called Mi Casa. This is a family after-school program, so where parents can come in, they can earn credit and earn their high school diplomas, those kinds of things, and students can come in and receive tutoring as well as other after-school activities. So that's a big one, and it's also housed within our school, so the Mi Casa is. Okay, so large family and social groups. We have a family council. I'll talk about that more as I move along, but family council is something that is a group of family members that our school regularly meets with, so monthly, that they then can get information from, and they have an influence on the decisions that are made as a network as a network and as a school. A couple things. So we are housed. There are two schools housed within one building: Strive Prep at Lake and Strive Prep Lake and Lake International. If a parent is sending their student to Strive Prep Lake, they are most likely sending their siblings, as well as any of the cousins and family members are going to be going to Strive Prep Lake. So there's a lot of group decision that kind of goes around there, and like family decisions of where their students are going. They want them all kind of be in the same place, so that kind of creates a lot of community groups within that small space. A couple things that we have an undocumented student task force. So I mentioned in the slide about the traditions, about the senior signing day, there is a Strive Prep Dare to Dream scholarship. So that is a scholarship that is put on by our undocumented student task force. It is a staff-funded scholarship for undocumented students to be able to go to college. So, for instance, they sent a student to Drake University on a full-ride scholarship with those funds. We also have staff affinity groups, so that is groups for staff of color, LGBTQ community, those types of things. And I'm going to keep going here. So, leadership. Our founder and CEO, Chris Gibbons. We have a board of trustees, again, the family council, who is influential in decisions of the CEO as well as the board of trustees. And then we have a lot of central staff as well as administration of the schools. There's a ton of leadership within our network. Whether that's good or bad, I don't know. I think that there is a lot of good that can be had from it, and it does help to create a lot of support for our teachers and our staff. So I'm not going to read through all of it, but you can take a quick look at that. So, community leaders' characteristics. So our leaders are strongly committed to the vision of the network. They're heavily vested in social justice, and they're actually pretty open about expressing these views. We're also active in school restarts, so if a school is failing in the community, that's something that our network is ready to jump in to try to open up a new school. Again, highly responsive towards political climate. So during the election of Trump, with the Day Without an Immigrant, and those protests, and also when DACA was first kind of being put on the chopping block, there was also some protests and students that were absent from school. So, economic conditions. The cost of living in Denver. I'm going to talk about Denver as well as our neighborhoods in general. So, you can take a quick look at some of these. And kind of the employment rate around the area. So that's kind of the larger Denver area. I'm going to go ahead and move on to more specific to our neighborhoods. So average household income for our students is approximately $40,000 compared to the Denver average household income of $89,000. So very low in that regard. Families in poverty, approximately 30% compared to Denver, only 8%. 45% own homes compared to Denver, 63%. 8% of our housing is overcrowded compared to Denver is 3%. Jobs with low wages, 33% compared to Denver is 20%. And the average annual income is $35,000 compared to Denver is $70,000. The neighborhoods that we serve are highlighted here in red, and this is the larger Denver County. Okay. So political structure. A majority of our funding is local, actually. We get a lot of money from a mill levy, from bonds, and then we also obviously get state and federal funding. It is a public charter school. We also get some money for grants for school improvement, so trying to do cooling solutions, and a lot of that money has recently been coming from tax that has been coming from marijuana sales. And the current political shift, again, something that has been pretty palpable. If you can take a look down here, Democratic vote, 73% compared to Republican, only 18% for the Denver vote. So there was a lot of response from our school, and the majority, again, of the Denver vote was Democratic. So pretty big change for our staff as well as our students. Okay, so as far as the social tensions, this is something that is seen a lot and talked a lot about at our school. So gentrification, or the upscaling of neighborhoods. Our school is actually housed in Sloan's Lake, but very little, if I don't even know if any of our students come from the actual Sloan's Lake neighborhood. It is definitely more upscale, and is continuing to become more upscale. I'm going to jump down real quick to that the majority of our teachers are actually white, and that is amongst a push for diversity among our schools, and particularly a push for staff that represent our student population. Another thing is that Black Lives Matter 5280, so within the Denver area, there's an active voice. An active voice in Black Lives Matter, DeRay McKesson, actually came to our network for a panel discussion. All staff are invited to attend, so I thought that was pretty interesting and definitely showed a clear political bias or influence. So, last thing, legalization of marijuana. Although it has provided some grant money through the taxes, it has also led to an increased use of student marijuana use, so definitely had some drawbacks there as well. Some places where you can gather information: the City of Denver website, as well as abundant news articles. That's a large city. School records. There's a website called Chalkbeat that does news for Colorado and a few other states. So it's education news. I actually got a lot of information from there. It's been pretty informative. Strive Prep, we have our own website, as well as many resources that can be found on the website. Census Bureau, minutes from school board meetings, the usual kind of information that you can gather, and a lot of things where I got that information for this presentation. Power structures. So again, we have our CEO, our board of trustees, our central staff, school administration, grade level admin, then our grade level lead, finally down to teachers and other staff, as well as we are a non-union school, so we don't have any influence in that regard. And there also is some autonomy of the individual schools, principals, to be able to make decisions based on what is best for their school. Even though there is kind of the central staff, board of trustees, and the CEO who are also going to be pushing down decisions as well. Kind of to go back just real quick, there's that again, just kind of that hierarchy of the administration. Okay. So some multicultural issues that we have. Again, low income, very low performing, predominantly Hispanic population. A lot of immigration, a lot of L's, a lot of missed school surrounding that culture. So a lot of the times I have had several students that are gone for weeks or months at a time on trips to Mexico, those kinds of things. We do teach an achievement block. So that is to serve kind of all students and at the needs that they have. And a huge part of that is serving our English language learners. And I teach an English language development block. Our school does require school uniforms, and we do have a pretty strict dress code that students have to adhere to. Also, we do have open enrollment at our school. So students who may be missing school, going on those trips, or are gone for long periods of time and are out of enrollment, if they come back, it is an open enrollment. That means that on any given day, I can come in and they can be like, hey, you have a new student today. And that has happened several times where I just find out I have a new student. Okay, as far as how our power structure works, we have a heavy influence from our parent council. Our school also receives a lot of influence from Denver Public Schools, specifically surrounding the consent decree that was that came from a federal court case that we must better serve our English language learners, particularly providing English language development courses for all of our English language learners. Most big decisions surrounding curriculum, as well as disciplinary decisions, norm data, grading, quizzes, those kinds of things, quarterly exams that we give, are coming from the central staff. As I'm sure you gathered, our school is very left-leaning in terms of politics and social matters. I myself am much more conservative in my views, and expressing my political views is something that I don't do a whole lot of, as rather they are frowned upon. Wrapping this up, the way that we measure our public opinion is through annual surveys that parents, students, and staff fill out. We fill out a lot of quality surveys. Anytime we have PD, anytime that we meet with our central staff, we are filling out quality surveys, as well as information from our family council. But ultimately, that information is kind of gathered within our central staff, and they make those final decisions. Some ways that I think that we could be getting even more public opinion would be through our local churches. I think that's something that we don't do any kind of gathering of information from, and I think that's kind of an untapped resource that we could definitely be gaining some more information, considering that most of our students are Catholic. Thank you.